Shalom. First, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Racha HaKadash. Double honors to the apostles, bishops, and elders of Great Millstone, from whom I learned this truth. Shalom to the 144,000 elect. I am Mayakala, and this is going to be part 3 on the series that I've been doing on five signs that an empire is coming to an end. So this will be part 3, and this part is going to cover the third sign, which is weak leaders. All right. It says weak leaders focus on personal power or luxury. And President Trump and his administration, that is exactly what it seems that they are focusing on. They focus on personal power. He is also focusing on luxury, because he's made quite a bit of money since he's been in this back in office, this second term that he's serving. So to show just that, I'm going to play a video, a real short video, and it's a still video, but the audio is President Trump himself speaking. And I will be playing this under the 1976 Copyright Act. Alright, this is under fair use. Fair use, this is just for edification purposes only. This channel is not monetized, so this is not in an effort to make money or gain for any gain. This is just for edification purposes only. Alright, and then I'll have a couple verses that I want to bring out, and maybe a definition, but this should be very short videos. I know the other 2 parts have been kind of long, so I'll try to keep this short. And I'm going to go ahead and let the video play.
Do you see any checks on your power on the world stage? Is there anything that could stop you if you wanted to?
Yeah, there's one thing. My own morality, my own mind. It's the only thing that can stop, and that's
law.
very good. I don't need international law. I'm not looking to hurt people.
Do you feel your administration needs to abide by international law on the global stage?
Yeah, I do. I do. But it depends what your definition of international law is. You mean in Greenland?
So basically what he's saying is, and since he has no morals, we already covered moral decline of a country is one of the parts that the one key point that plays a big part in this decline. But you heard him say that the only thing that limits his power is his own morality, and we see just by his actions, the things he's done in Venezuela and what he's doing right now, that he has no morals. All right, this man will do anything to accomplish his own agenda. But I'll let the rest of this play, because you can see it's only a minute long.
We had in Greenland, started in the 1951 agreement, though. It says the United States can reopen these bases anytime you want. You can send as many troops as you want, and you haven't done it. How come?
Because I want to do it properly.
And properly means own it?
Really, it is. To me, it's ownership. Ownership is very important,
Why is ownership important here?
Because that's what I feel is psychologically needed for success. I think that ownership gives you a thing that you can't do, whether you're talking about a lease or a treaty. Ownership gives you things and elements that you can't get from just signing a document that you...
So, you see, he's talking about owning Greenland, all right? But he's showing how weak he is, because he's already in a situation that he can't get himself out of, all right? But you heard him say that the only thing that can stop him is his own morality. So he's lawless. All right, he thinks that he's in total control. All right, but he doesn't realize the things he's doing, the decisions he's making, and the route that he's taking to obtain these different. Really, he hasn't obtained anything because, like I said, he's not winning in Iran. So he thinks that he's in control of his movements, but ultimately he's not. I'm going to go to Proverbs 21 and verse 1. And it says, the king's heart, or his mind, as we know heart is referring to the mind. It says, the king's heart is in the hand of the Lord Yahweh. As the rivers of water, he turneth it whithersoever he will. All right, so even though this man thinks that he's limitless, that he has no limit in what he can do, the power that he has, he doesn't realize that the Lord Yahweh Bahashim Yahushai is controlling his movements and is making him make the decisions going in the different directions that he's going. All right, because you can see a lot of times when he's being interviewed, he doesn't know what's coming out of his mouth next. You know, he's just rambling and boasting about, you know, how he can do whatever he wants to do. All right, that's the Lord putting it on him, putting it on his mind to make him make these decisions and make him do the things that he's doing. He went into Venezuela. All right, he broke all kinds of laws when he went in and invaded them. All right, taking over resources, taking seeds of their government, taking an official and putting them in cuffs and bringing them back here, putting them in jail. All right, that's a violation of the laws. All right, he's in violation, and that's why some countries are considering whether he's guilty of war crimes, right? Because he's just going out doing whatever he wants. He's in violation of the Geneva Code. But he doesn't understand that the decisions that he's making, the things that he's doing, they're not him. It's not him. He may even sit in times think and wonder, why did he say that, or why did he do a certain thing? Because it's not in his control. The Lord is putting this on his mind for him to do it. Proverbs 20 and 24 says, man's goings are of the Lord Yahweh. How can a man then understand his own way? All right, so he doesn't realize, you know, just like Pharaoh in Egypt. All right, one moment he was saying, let the Israelites go, and the next minute he was saying, bring them back and go and stop them. He just was making just irrational decisions, and he didn't understand why. It's because he was being controlled by the Lord. The Lord was putting these things on his mind. All right, and Trump is going through the exact same thing. You'll see him from day to day change his mind, and he's just not in control. It says, I'm going to go to Job chapter 12, verse 19. Chapter 12 and verse 19 in the book of Job, it says, he leadeth princes away spoiled, and overthroweth the mighty. And that's what's going to happen. All right, we're seeing a country that's been bombed with some of the best stuff that the United States has. All right, and the United States is being outsmarted by another country. All right, a country that's really not even supposed to be contending with the United States. All right, but this thing has been going on since the end of February, whereas Donald Trump went in and said he was going to have this thing over in a matter of days. All right, now we're going on more than 5 months. This thing's been going on for a while. All right, and he's about to be overthrown. All right, the stronghold that America has had in Western Asia, or what people call the Middle East, that stronghold is coming to an end. All right, there ain't no such thing as the Middle East. Like I said, it's Western Asia, but the stronghold that they're used to having and what they thought they had with all those military bases in the Gulf Coast, in the Gulf Coast states. All right, all those bases, those U.S. military bases, for the most part, have been destroyed. All right, and they're in a position now where they're really, the military that was stationed in those various bases had to retreat. They're in whole different hotels around the area. All right, and Iranian military, or the people in control of their military, they know exactly where they are. All right, and they can strike at them at any time in these hotels that they're held up in. All right, because they can't go back to these bases. These bases are not operating at their full capacity. Let's look up. I want to look up omnipotency. And I'm going to take this off. Go to Google and look up omnipotency. Let's see. It says omnipotent. It says omnipotent means having unlimited power, absolute authority, or the ability to do anything. It is an objection, Salaka. It is an adjective built from the Latin words omni, meaning all, and potens, meaning powerful. All right. In religion's usage and context, it says in religion used to describe an almighty deity or power who holds supreme power over the universe, and that power is Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai. All right, he is omnipotent. He can do whatever it is he wants. All right, he's the one that ultimately is in control over all these so-called kings of the earth. All right, so when they think they're making decisions that they want, or things that they want to do, they're being controlled. All right, they're making these decisions and they're thinking they're making them on their own, but ultimately Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai is putting it on their minds to make these decisions. All right, and then under this weak leaders category, where it says they focus on personal power or luxury, that's another part of it. Donald Trump thinks that he's got the ultimate power to do whatever he wants. All right, he's limitless. All right, he's also focusing on his luxury. He's focusing on how much money he's had. All right, and I wanted to take a look, see how much money this man has made since he's had his second term in office. So, like, I'm going to go to Google AI to look that up. So we can get an idea how much money he's. All right, so I'm asking Google AI. I said, how much money has Donald Trump made since he's been in office in this second term? Now, this is just since he's been in office since the second term. It says President Donald Trump's business generated more than $2.2 billion in income during 2025. Now, that's just in 2025. Since the first year of his second term, largely driven by cryptocurrency ventures, licensing deals, and his golf and real estate properties. This amount is nearly 4 times his reported income of about $622 million from 2024. All right, so this man has made a significant amount of money just in 2025 alone. All right. So no telling where he's at right now, halfway through 2026, still having 2027 to go if the Lord see fit that we even still be here. All right, but we're halfway through 2026 though, so there ain't no telling how much more he's done already accumulated. All right, if he stay on the pace that he was in 2025, that'll be he's at least at another billion already. I'm gonna go to Psalms chapter 73 and 12. Psalm 73 verse 12 says, "Behold," says, "these are the ungodly who prosper in the world. They increase in riches." All right, and this is talking about the elite. All right, those ones who are in authority, those wicked who are in control of this world right now, according to Job 9:24. All right, so even though we know that Donald Trump is really a puppet of the elite, he's got a certain amount of having, as far as a relationship with these elite, he must interact with them because they got to be in contact with him to let him know what his next move is and the things that they need him to do. All right, so he's got a relationship with these elite. All right, the ones that don't appear on cameras, the ones that you don't see. All right, Donald Trump is their face, their man to put in front of the camera. All right, to bring about their getting their agenda accomplished. All right, so we just see his face, but ultimately it's those elite that are at the top, the very top, that you don't see. All right, that's why they have a puppet like Donald Trump. They are the ungodly, they are the unrighteous, they are the wicked. Proverbs 22 verse 16 says, "He that oppresseth the poor to increase his riches, and he that giveth to the rich shall surely come to want." So he better enjoy it while he can, because when the kingdom to come that Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai is going to have here on earth, all right, we're going to go in, and these elites that do survive the nuclear war, that do survive the fire that's going to destroy, of course it's going to destroy all of America. All right, it's going to destroy the land of Israel, but that's going to be rebuilt. All right, and those elite who do survive in these bunkers, all right, they're going to be pulled out of those bunkers. All right, so they should be enjoying this, all right, while they can. All right, because it's going to come to an end, and when it does come to an end, they're going to find themselves in slavery. All right, and they're going to have to account for all the things that they've done, all the things that they stole, all the blood that they have shed, all the lands that they have stolen. All right, they're going to have to give account for all of that wickedness that they have done. All right, and they're going to pay back those riches and more. All right, and they're weak leadership because they don't do anything to solve any problems. All right, they just perpetuate this thing in order to further their agenda. All right, and they create divisions. You can see there's all kind of factions, all different types of divisions just in the United States alone. All right, let alone the divisions that they've caused in the world. All right, You got countries going against countries, and then just like I said, within the United States, there's all different divisions, all kinds of people going against one another, political parties going against one another, Democrats against Democrats, Republicans against Republicans. All right, the last verse that I'm going to bring out is the second Ezra chapter 15, verse 14 says, "Woe to the world and them that dwell therein, for the sword and their destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up to fight against another, and swords in their hand." Those swords in their hands is the modern day gun, all right? The swords that we're seeing are these missiles that we see flying back and forth, these drones that we see flying back and forth between Israel and Lebanon, between the United States and Iran, Ukraine and Russia, all right, and now even most recently Saudi Arabia, I believe, has gotten into it where they've fired weapons. I don't know exactly what kind of missiles, or if they even have any missiles, but surely they have been involved in some attacks against the Iranians, so they're getting in on this thing, all right. And I think even recently Ukraine has fired missiles against Iran. So this third woe is beginning to come into focus, all right, because I'm pretty sure that the Ukraine has done this because they've probably been urged by the United States to do this, because the United States is so low on the missiles and so low on weaponry right now. All right, a lot of it has been given to Ukraine, so that's why the Ukraine is probably firing these missiles at Iran. All right, because we know that Iran is being supported by Russia, so they're trying to link the two. All right, saying that Russia is backing Iran, so that's their reason for firing on Iran. All right, but ultimately these leaders are making these decisions because Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai is putting it on their minds to do these things, all right, in order to bring about that third woe, all right, because they are all gathered right there in that land in the so-called Middle East, all right, to bring about this third woe. Continuing on in 2nd Ezra chapter 15 verse 16, it says, "For there shall be sedition among men, and invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes," meaning their governing officials, all right. And when that all hell breaks loose, we're going to see a lack, and we're already seeing a disregard for these governing officials. It says, "And the course of their actions shall stand in their power." All right, so like I said, we're already beginning to see, because of the different the divisions that's taking place in these different countries, all right. The officials are being, people are taking on and challenging these officials, all right, and it's just a matter of time, all right, especially with there being legislation for United States military to combine forces with the Israeli government, all right, for the purposes of using their different technology, all right. So supposedly Israel's military is supposed to be so technologically sound with a lot of advancements, and they want to be able to share those advancements with the United States military, which is ultimately going to give them the power to pull the strings and say what's being used and who to be used on, all right. But I'm going to go ahead and leave it there. Like I said, I didn't want to make this go on, and I think the point has been made about how weak this government is, how weak this leadership is, all right, that's contributing to the decline of this country, all right, contributing to the decline of this kingdom that's coming down, all right. But I pray this has been edifying to the listener. I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rahakadash. Shalom.